Hey everyone, my name's Lara and welcome to my YouTube channel. So if you've clicked on this video, you're probably a beginner maybe and wanting to look for the best way to perfect your base. So in this video, I will show you the best way to perfect your base with primer, color correction, concealer, and foundation and powder. So before we begin, if you could subscribe, that would be great. And also make sure to give me a follow on Instagram. And let's just get into it. So I've just zoomed you in a little bit just to see the whole situation. So as you can see, I've got quite a bit of breakouts happening at the moment. It's not the worst thing ever, but it is definitely a lot more than I'm used to. I used to have really bad acne as a teenager, and I mean like proper cystic acne, not just breakouts like this. However, I'm struggling to keep on top of it at the moment, so there's that. So I'm having to pull out my color correcting techniques for the first time in a few years, so what better time to do a video on it. So first things first, with primer, you want to really take notice of your skin type and its condition. So I have a combination skin type. I get oily in my T-zone area and dry to normal around, I wouldn't say normal because I am acne prone, and my condition at the moment is acne, you know, breaking out, which could mean I am dehydrated. That's a condition, not a skin type. Don't get dry skin confused with dehydrated skin. So I've been using moisturizer like crazy at the moment, which, you know, if you do want to perfect your base, it really does come down to skincare, you know, making sure your skin's exfoliated and of course hydrated. So I'm actually going to use two sets of primer. I'm going to use a pore filling primer in my T-zone because, as you can see, I don't know if you can tell, I've got quite large open pores, which is a sign of combo to oily skin. And having had acne, it's just hand in hand. I'm gonna have large open pores. So for that primer, I'm gonna use the MAC Prep and Prime Skin Refined Zone Primer. So I don't actually have a full-size product of that. I've only got a little sample pot, but this thing has lasted me ages. So it's only $36 or something in Australia. I will go pick that up when this is empty. We'll fill in any pores you have. So when you do put foundation over the top, it is a smooth texture. It's not going to show all the dots and holes on your face. And it also has oil control capabilities, I guess you'd say, which is a big thing for me because, you know, a couple of hours in after wearing makeup and all the makeup is just dripping off my nose, the oil just breaks down the makeup like no tomorrow. So let's pop that on. Because I have nails, I'm just going to get some on the back of my nail there so it doesn't get underneath. And you only need a little bit, maybe that much. This is really awkward. There we go. And I'm going to spread that around, so in the middle of my T-zone as well, and under my eyes, avoiding the actual eye area, and just gently rub that in. So the second primer for the rest of my face that I'm going to use is actually the Too Faced Hangover Replenishing Base Primer. So this one's really good for hydration. I always use a moisturizer underneath my makeup anyway, but this just gives me that extra bit, and it's, you know, creates a nice dewy base for us without being too glowy. Sometimes if I haven't moisturized, I'll just use this by itself anyway. It's silicone free, it says it right on here, so, and it smells like coconuts, so it's amazing. Just want to grab a little bit and kind of just dot it around and just rub it in to the areas of the face that you didn't put that other primer. So now I'm just going to let that sink into the skin. before applying any concealers or foundations. But that is kind of key with primers, is not slapping everything on straight away. You do want to wait a little bit. This way it'll give it a chance to actually get tacky for the makeup to apply, and foundation won't slide and slip off your face. So now to, I guess, the fun part, color correcting. Basically, color correcting is using all the different shades of concealer to correct the color of your skin. Pimples at the moment on me are all red, which they mainly are on people, so you want to go with the opposite color to red on the color wheel, which is green. So this is the Maybelline New York Coverstick Corrector Concealer. This is really old, so I'm sure they still have it. I'll link it down below where you can get it if it's not. So basically what you want to do here is just grab a small little brush. I've just found this little angled concealer brush. I can't find a normal one at the moment. And what you want to do is obviously just, let's see, get a bit onto the brush and just start patting it on. Don't bother blending it just yet. You really just want to put it on all your red spots. I can't see this far over. So as you can see, most of my breakouts and where I'm needing correcting is on the bottom half of my face, which is pretty normal. It's, you know, hormonal acne, and apparently if you get breakouts around this area, it's stomach digestion issues, which probably makes sense because I have all sorts of craziness. I just did a little bit on my forehead. And you can also, you don't have to just stick to blemishes with green concealer. I'm gonna put some around my nose because I do get quite red in there. So I'm just gonna take my trusty ring finger and just start tapping it lightly, just to slowly blend it out a little bit. You don't want to go too crazy. You still want it to be green. You just want to kind of soften the edges to make it easier to cover with the concealer and foundation. And the bigger ones may take a bit more concealing, but that's normal, that's okay. So when I was in high school, I used to basically cover my whole face in green concealer before putting foundation on. That's how bad it was. I'd have to use a brush bigger than this. Like, it was bad. And so having this at the moment is really annoying and kind of disheartening. Get around the nose. You don't want to put too much around the nose because that's usually where your foundation tends to cake. Okay, so this next step is entirely negotiable, optional. You can either use a concealer the same shade as your skin tone and then foundation, or you can just use foundation, whatever is easier for you. But just to show you today, I'm going to use concealer first. So I'm going to use the Jeffree Star Magic Concealer. I've got the shade C7. I'll go ahead and just pop this on wherever we put the green. You don't want to put too much on either. So I'm not going to put it around my nose where I had the green around there, just because if I put too much product in there, it'll just get too cakey and gross. So next I'm going to take my wet beauty blender. This is actually the Mecca Max Beauty Bullet. This is alright. It's a lot firmer than the Beauty Blender, which took a while to get used to. Like at first I hated it, but it was the only thing I had at the time, so I just stuck with it. But no, I'm used to it now. So it's damp So I'm just gonna lightly tap out and blend this concealer, mainly around the edges, so that we don't wipe off any of that product on the actual blemish. And you want to make sure it's blended into the skin as much as possible, so that when we put foundation on, it's not blotchy and patchy looking. So you can kind of see, I'm not sure you can see on camera, but these bigger ones, you can still see the green over. So I'll just pop a little bit more concealer over the top. So for the next step of color correcting, I'm going to do our under eyes. Usually I don't myself personally need to use a color corrector under my eyes, but I will show you what type of corrector you need and what to do. So I will usually just highlight under my eyes after I do foundation. So to color correct under the eyes, I'm going to use the Urban Decay Naked Skin Color Correcting Fluid. This is in the shade Peach. And so Peach will really help to counteract the darker tones under the eyes. I used this on my best friend's wedding because she gets really dark under eye circles. This helped to hide them. It was amazing. I was kind of scared that I wasn't going to be able to because nothing really works for her, but this stuff worked. So just use it like a normal concealer if you don't know how. You just want to take a bit under the eyes, just like so, and grab your damp beauty blender again, or you can use a brush, but I recommend beauty blenders. It just helps to buff it into the skin really nicely and smoothly. You want to use the pointy end. So there you can see I've got that peachy toned concealer underneath. So now to cover up this green and peach and yellow situation with foundation. So the foundation I'm going to use in this tutorial is the Rimmel London Lasting Finish 25 Hour SPF 20 foundation, and this is in the shade 100 Ivory because I am pale. So just give it a good shake. You always just want to give your foundations a good shake if they've just been sitting there. And then I take mine on my ring finger and I just dab it around on my face, kind of blend it out with my finger a little bit. So this foundation is like $15 at Chemist Warehouse, and it's got SPF 20 in it, so it's good for the daytime, maybe not so much nighttime with the flash, but it is an amazing coverage. My favorite was the medium coverage one with the white cap, but of course they discontinued that, which is typical. Taking our beauty blender again, I'm just calling it a beauty blender because that's just what it is to me, and go in, and you want to start blending, you want to start tapping it out on the face. By, I guess, pouncing, do you think pouncing? And you can just kind of watch the colour disappear, bring it onto the eyelid. My favourite thing to watch on YouTube is foundation being blended out. I don't know why, it's so soothing and satisfying to me. So make sure you bring it down. You don't want any demarcation lines. You know, in high school we all did that. We just stopped right there, had that line. That was beautiful. So I never actually bring the foundation right up under my eyes. I just think, especially if you've got color corrector under there, it's going to be too much product adding enough like concealer over the top and powder. It'll just end up cakey. You may see other people on YouTube do that, which is good on camera. I just don't think it's very flattering in real life. You don't want big, thick, cakey under eyes. So anyway, you can, in real life, you can still see the bumps, but they're the same color as the rest of my skin, which I guess I'm okay with. It'd be better if they weren't there at all, but you know, these things happen. So once you're happy with the coverage and color of your foundation and base, we're gonna go in with under eye concealer brightening. So you can, and eyelid primer. So concealer is quite a versatile product. You can, you know, use it to brighten your under eye. You can use it to clean up the edges of eyeliner and eyeshadow. You can use it to carve out your brows to make them nice and uniform and straight, defined is the word I'm looking for. You can use it to outline your lips if you made a mistake with your lipstick. It works great, especially with red lipstick. It's a big must for me anyway. You can use it to contour if you have a darker shade and highlight with around the outsides of that. So today I am just going to show you priming my eyes and highlighting the center of my face, because that's just what I usually do. You know, maybe in future videos go over other techniques like the contouring, highlighting and all that, but there is obviously plenty on YouTube already. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Tarte Shape Tape. I've got the shade 8B Porcelain Beige, which is way too light for me at the moment anyway. Not gonna lie, I just wanted to buy it and they didn't have my exact shade that I would have used in store, but I desperately needed a concealer. So I just grabbed this, but I can make it work. You want a concealer like this, a liquid one with a doe foot or some type of applicator that works best for highlighting the center of the face. Basically, you just go ahead the same way you did with color correcting under the eyes, but instead of just doing dashes, I'm gonna do a triangle because it just brings a bit more flattering shape to the face. Yeah, it just looks better. If you look at before and after photos of like a rounded out shape versus triangle, it just looks a bit more flattering. See how light that is? Some people like that look. I can make this work. It's not really for me, but sometimes you just gotta put up with it. It's a great look. And then I'm gonna take whatever's left on the little applicator just down the center of the nose. And then, so you can see, I'm left-handed, I'm probably on the wrong side. Bring it up in the middle of the forehead. And then down a bit on the chin, so that projects the chin forward, and a bit on my cupid's bow. And then you guessed it, taking the damp beauty blender again, and I like to blend out the center of the face before doing the under eyes because there is a bit more product on the under eyes, so it won't dry out as quickly. And I take the pointy end and just blend. But make sure you're not putting the highlighted concealer on any blemishes because then that will highlight them as well. I hope you can't hear those kids. And if you blend it up towards the top of the ear, it'll give you that nice lifted look, which is obviously, you know, what everyone wants. So you can see how bright that under eye is. And there's the highlighted center of the face. It looks really scary at the moment, doesn't it? So for the eyelids, for when we prep our eyeshadow, you do want a base. You can usually just prime with concealer, which is what I usually do, but I did want to show you another option. You can use an actual makeup eye primer. I use the MAC Soft Ochre Pro Longwear paint pot, which I haven't seen mentioned on YouTube for a million years. But what you want to do is grab a blending brush. This is a flat top eyeshadow brush, and just dip it in the product and just apply straight to the eyelid. So this is going to really help your eyeshadow to stick and to bring out the nice bright pigments in your eyeshadows. Just bring it right up to the brows. I haven't actually done my brows yet. I've just henna tattooed them the other day. Now moving on to powder and setting the face. So there are many types of powders as well. There's your loose powders, there's your pressed powders, translucent powders, setting powders, powder foundation, the list goes on. My favorite powder in the whole world is the Laura Mercier translucent loose setting powder. I don't know, nothing can beat it. It's a translucent powder and it doesn't have any flashback, so that's great. I also like to use the MAC Studio Fix powder. This is more of foundation, but you can use it sheer over your foundation. I don't like to, it gets a bit cakey again. This is more if I want like no liquid foundation underneath and just want a little bit of coverage. So I would recommend setting with a loose powder. Translucent is a great option because it doesn't add any extra color or coverage. If that's what you're looking for, then go ahead and get a colored powder. And then, so you can either use the beauty blender to apply this or a brush. I prefer a brush, like a round top blender brush. I just think it's too much with a beauty blender. I'll do that, like, you know, if I want super long lasting setting staying power all day, but everyday makeup you just don't need that. So you just literally tap it in, tap off the excess, don't blow on it, tap it off. And then all you do is set the under eyes first so you don't get any creasing. And I like to like pull my face, it's weird, pull it down so that I can get in the creases. If there is any creasing, it blends it out and sets, and then sets. And then I definitely put them on my eye. I've seen the trend lately where people are putting eyeshadow straight on top of the base without setting the base. I tried it, I don't like it, to be honest, because I don't know, I just find if you've got a powder there and you're putting a powder eyeshadow on, it's a lot easier to blend out. It's got something to blend into. And then for the rest of the face, a lot of people don't like to set the rest of their face. I personally do, only because I'm a combo oily person. So just taking a big, you know, fluffy face powder brush and the rest of that powder, just the same thing again, like tap it ever so lightly. That's probably too much, so you're gonna tap it off and just go through and set the rest of the face. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of my makeup right now, and I will be back.